What's it all about, Alfie? Are we meant to take more than we give? Or are we meant to be kind? Things fall apart. The silver cord severed. The golden bowl broken. The pitcher shattered at the spring. The wheel broken at the well. Dust to dust, spirit to spirit. What is the meaning of this brief interlude? What say you, Mr. Boots, descendant of the feral cats who served as guardians of the ancient temple of love? I will sing the song of all songs, that you may smother me in kisses. I see the painting now, Mr. Boots, almost happy hour. And you, little cloud, little bubble, I know you. Kite high in crazy blue, I know that laugh. The opening lines of James Joyce's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. Once upon a time, and a very good time it was, there was a moo cow coming down along the road, and this moo cow that was coming down along the road met a nicest little boy named Baby Tuku. His father told him that story. His father looked at him through a glass. He had a hairy face. He was a baby Tuku. The moo cow came down the road where Betty Byrne lived. She sold lemon platt. Marlowe's artistic awakenings didn't begin that young, but from 10 to 14, he had mojo, even charm, a way to woo his mother. It was a very confident age. In a cascading series of selves, this self remained special to him, while whole other decades of selves rarely come to mind. His essential self best displayed, absolutely fearless, before girls and such. At 10, Marlowe met pianist and interpreter of Gershwin, Oscar Levant, in the coffee shop of the Century Plaza Hotel on a visit to L.A. Marlowe, impressed when someone asked Oscar for an autograph, asked him who he was. Marlowe's chutzpah made Oscar laugh, and Oscar told him, "You know, kid, it took me a long time to realize everybody doesn't have an internal laugh track, and everybody doesn't get irony." Young Marlowe didn't ponder this too much. He was there for the World Series. On the same trip, he slipped the parental leash yet again and somehow wandered backstage in Las Vegas. On stage, Shelley Berman on a stool, a ring of light haloing his head. "Oh, I was not drunk. I had a few drinks." "Oh, really? I did that? The cat? Oh, right out the window? Oh, that's a long ways down. That was your mother's cat. How'd she take it?" "Oh, out the window too? Hey, gods." The moment froze and broke in two. Sensing Marlowe, Shelley Berman swiveled, but the audience saw him looking straight at them, in two places at once, a wave and a particle. Marlowe and Shelley locked eyes. Shelley tilted the receiver to Marlowe so he too could hear the enraged wife, as Shelley leaned into his mouthpiece and with meticulous comic timing, "Buttermilk? I hate buttermilk." In high school, the Myers-Briggs test. Do you want to pick cherries or read the Times? His score didn't scan the norm, and the Myers-Briggs people came to interview him. Did he cheat and sabotage the test, or did they miss something? Myers-Briggs were nothing if not thorough. Heads shook, hands wrung. There was no category for his future career. Mow the lawn or construct a large-scale piece of art. They never thought to ask him that. Marlowe was clueless about so much, how things worked. The plumber could be under the house smoking crack. He'd never know. Marlowe never cast himself in the role of ball player or astronaut or Shelley Berman. The clock didn't strike 13 in A Clockwork Orange. That was 1984. And Bobby Darin didn't write Mac the Knife. That was Kurt Weill. And James Joyce didn't write Trees. Joyce Kilmer wrote Trees. Marlowe got Shelley's humor of embarrassment and anxiety, but Shelley was neurotic, given to rages. throwing many a prop phone, and those babies were heavy. Did he have the balls to sit on Shelley's stool? What would he do on Shelley's stool? He understood the cringe of embarrassment, of social unease, the wrong fork or spoon, but that's not what Marlowe would talk about on the stool. For starters, he could not imagine trying to make an audience laugh. To be funny in that kind of way, a joke teller, not for him. On the other hand, maybe a comic didn't have to be funny to be funny. Maybe he'd tell stories. The lady who screamed when she entered his art show, "Get me out of here!" His wife taking him to Tonga to swim with whales, throwing him in the ocean to see if he'd come up. All he could think of was The Short Happy Life of Francis Macomber by Ernest Hemingway. Or a day in North Carolina, seeing the leaves blow off the neighbor's pear blossom tree in a single swoosh, a vision of transcendence. How he'd like to leave this world. Maybe he'd talk about the Great American Songbook. Summertime, and the living was easy. What is it about a song that can make you cry? But for now, Marlowe's mission was to paint. He saw himself more Toulouse-Lautrec, the symbolist painter known for acid-colored depictions of Parisian nightlife, vibrant, blunt, gleeful, and unflattering, capturing place and period. Excessively curious as to the faults and imperfections of the night creatures he immortalized, Marlowe would be a more contemporary Lautrec, Greenwich Village or San Francisco, a beatnik artist as seen on the covers of 1950s paperbacks. Demi-Monde Tuesday, Baer, Coldwater Flat, seeking transcendence and a new slant, a nice illicit buzz, the afternoon shifting from geranium red to indigo blue, the sun setting in a pool of black. Marlowe sees himself alternating between two canvases on his easel. On the first, Shelley Berman's head painted in a Cubist style. Two places at once, listening to Miles Davis to the consternation of the board model. A splatter of aquamarine and dark gray, and he returns to the second canvas to concentrate on her. Black hair, straight bangs, black turtleneck. He trades his brush for a grease pencil, draws a cartoon word bubble over her head. Percy B. Shelley was so silly, liked to lick jelly off my belly. Oh, so naughty, Percy B. Shelley, but oh, so nice. Marlowe stands the pair side by side, a single work he dubs Two Shelleys, and calls it a day. Thought Marlowe, as long as one beatnik is left to snap fingers, there is hope. But he often woke in the night and said out loud, "Man, you are so full of shit." Thought Marlowe, how quickly a surplus of self-worth can evaporate. Marlowe, maybe 17 or 18, read Ulysses into a cassette player. Then he would listen back. It was the only way he could get through the book. The text was too thick. And Joyce wrote lyrically language that had to be heard. If Marlowe hadn't figured out this way to get through Joyce, he wouldn't know about Joyce. James Joyce had a habit from time to time to compose a short sentence about himself. He lived at a distance from his body, regarding his own acts with doubtful side glances. Marlowe understood the artist often stands separate from the person, nothing personal. It takes a deep well of silence to hear the word, and the word was not good. Dear occupant, you've been weighed in the balance and found wanting. No surprise, but who judges? Whose thumb on the scale? Yet we can all be better. How do we transcend ourselves? How do we be bigger than we are? Man at bar talking to bartender in New Yorker cartoon. I'm nothing, and yet I'm all I can think about. Marlowe's story is not very remarkable, yet it is the only one he has. The French philosopher Montaigne wrote about himself because it was the only subject on which he felt expert. I am what I am. How about you, sweet potato? For Marlowe's painting journals, I love the photographic book Tulsa by Larry Clark and the suburban backyard paintings by Eric Fischel. Daddy's Girl, Barbecue, Bad Boy, The Snobulist. If I only had to think a painting and it would appear on my canvas rendered with the luster of a Chardin, I couldn't compete with the strangeness hiding in plain sight in Fischel's paintings. Not like memories, but apparitions. I love the disturbing photography of Diane Arbus, the confessional art of Tracy Emin. What these artists have in common is unflinching bravery. Could I ever be that brave? Lord, give me the courage of my convictions.